right, Dave, welcome to the East County Sports Report. I'm Ramon Scott. That's my partner, Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com. Dave, I think it's week 4 of the spring football season. I've tried to quit on you every day this week already. I tried to quit earlier today. I tried to quit before this show. I haven't left my house, but yet the prep sports just keep coming. I'm not complaining to you. We didn't do anything for a year. I'm grateful to look at all these games, all these scores, all these results, and all these stars out in the East County. We're going to talk about the football stars coming up this week, and we have big games this week, Dave. Anything before we start rolling in our picks? You want to talk a little prep football? You were out last week at the Grossmont Granite Hills game. I want to thank you very much for saving my bacon because I couldn't get any real transmission started to the games that I was going to be at, but I think we got a nice show planned for this Friday.
No, absolutely right. I was actually impressed, and what I like, folks out there, NFHS has their deal, and it's great for the folks that just want to go out there or just want to view a full game in its entirety. But the way you and I both grow up, we had there was a Howard Cosell or a Kevin Harlan or somebody like that gave you the play-by-play, and I think we both see eye to eye on that. And slowly but surely, that is exactly what we're trying to do, and that's what I was trying to duplicate myself on Friday night at Granite Hills. And as the night progressed, the volume went up, and I was a lot more excited than probably I sounded, but it was definitely something we haven't done at ECS that was 100% successful through the whole 2 hours and 30 minutes or whatever it was. And then on top of that, to get bonus footage of post game, we even got we even got 2 halftime interviews. I mean, that's a rarity in itself. And then the post game where we switched it up and had Justice McComb kind of lead into the to our coverage, which was definitely a nice touch. But I would call that definitely in the win column for the East County end zone.
Well, I loved it because I could see your feed the whole time, or I could hear it the whole time, and I couldn't see it the whole time until I finally caught a signal, and then I could see it, and even mine came out choppy. So I think I'm working through that, and I think we're going to pull it off this week with a couple of great games. We'll talk about the games I think we're going to go to this week, and also we'll talk. I don't know if you wanted to comment about that game, Dave. It was maybe as we go along we can talk about the 20-7 win. I mean, that was the game of the week so far, the game of the season, the 20-7 win. Surprise, right? Even Kellen Cobb said that isn't what you were expecting. I picked like 65 points in a game like that, but the Eagles brought the defense and did that. Once you saw the flow of the game early on, Dave, did you know we were in for a defensive battle, or did you think that it still could get offensive and the defenses just continued to take over throughout the first half?
No, I absolutely saw it. The writing was on the wall. I mean, once I saw Grossmont, I think they went either 4 or 5 times they went 3 and out straight, and then the only hope I thought of offensively is Granite Hills didn't march right down the field, but they pretty much handled the field going down the field and scored pretty quickly. And then they were up 7-0, but then nothing to be heard of it. They started duplicating what the Foothillers were doing. Foothiller defense started holding. I'll tell you, nobody ever wants to talk about the flags and how much laundry's on there. I even made a comment about it, and the same thing. And Justice McComb said the same thing, confirming we don't play the flags. We just got to do what we got to do. We got to overcome those flags. We got to clean. They want to clean some stuff up on the offense. Some of them were questionable calls, though. And I just want to shout out, I don't know his actual name, but we hope that one of our older officials that he's recovering and doing better after he took a nasty hit in that game and hit his head. So we wish him and his family the best. He did walk off under his own power, but I hope he's able to continue his career as a referee. And Ramon, that he actually told me 4 plays prior, as we were waiting the kickoff, you could smell the what do you call that stuff, the icy hot, and he said his back was killing him, his lower back, and he was sweating real bad. And I thought, you guys might want to check this guy out. No one heard me, of course. And 4 plays later, he's down on the ground, and I don't know. I thought I should have done some more, maybe went and waved somebody down, but he seemed to be okay after all said and done. So I hope he's doing well and that he returns this week.
Well, we'll start it off with those Eagles because right now they have to be the talk of the East County, Dave. They're the highest ranked team in the East County. They're number 7 in the poll, moving up. They're the only they're not the only team. Helix is now back in the top 10, but let's just give the Eagles flap your wings and give them their due, and they're taking on their rival, kind of, in a way, yes, the Steel Canyon Cougars. And the Cougars, it says 1-2. Notice, Dave, also Thursday night, right? This one's on the NFHS network. Thursday night, Granite Hills at Steel Canyon. I kind of thought when I was looking at that and seeing we had these games this week, I figure we probably have these because the sharing the field or something. I don't know if you had heard why you're in tune with the Eagles, but I figured that was the case. And I thought, boy, it'd be neat to have some Thursday night games in the fall. But then I thought, no, come on, nobody wants to go to a game on Thursday night. We want Friday night lights. But this during this special season, we're getting a little treat, a little doubleheader at the same time. But Granite Hills at Steel is on Thursday. Now, Joaquin Thomas, Davey had that 76-yard run and that 89-yard reception from Justice McComb. And right now, he's looking great. But how about this matchup against Gibbons of Steel Canyon? You got 2 great sophomore running backs in this matchup with Steel and Granite. And now that we see the way the game unfolded against Grossmont, and we know that Eagles are playing great D, we saw the Cougars, they can still play some great D. They had a low-scoring game last week. Dave, is this going to be a low-scoring game?
I think it is going to be a low-scoring game, and I hope we don't have the same conversation with Kellen where he says, now you guys said that it was going to be an offensive game, and next thing you know, you got defensive guys flying.
Well, this one's going to be like 31-28 or something. No chance of that. I don't. Shout out to all those offensive players on those teams, especially the Eagles. They certainly have the offensive potential and the fireworks, and the Cougars can ground it out and get in the end zone as well. They just had a tough opponent last week, but I would think we're looking at some defense.
I think overall, these two teams know each other's tendencies too, and have played each other enough times that they kind of know what to expect from each other. The coaching staffs have been together for quite a few years. But after seeing that game last week, I just think that I think Steel, they're a younger team, but I think they do have a lot of talent. They have talent on the defense as well. Some pretty big dudes and also some pretty fast guys. And then they have a pretty decent offense. I think another year and they're going to be a little better once they get some experience under their belt. But when it comes to the complete package, after seeing everything, and that includes special teams, and I had mentioned that it could be playing a big part, is Granite Hills has it all. They had it. Now, in defense, though, for Steel Canyon, Granite Hills kicker did miss one that didn't count, but
now they've been running. They've been running. I know they've had. I want to say they've had 2 kickers in the game, but I'm not sure. Did you notice that, or I might?
I believe so, but I know that the same kicker missed the same XPAT twice, wide left. But it was strange because Grossmont missed a 20-yard chip shot too. So I don't know if it was something in the air or what, but neither one of them could hit the uprights, But what a game though, and the atmosphere there really must have been at least 600 people there. So that 4 tickets per player. I think there was a lot more student body than was let on, and I think
don't get me in trouble.
That's due in part to maybe some of these slipped through the cracks, but they were really pretty. They weren't very lenient on letting just anybody in, because I know that when Sebastian came in with me, he's my assistant, so he came in with me, but we were going to separate. We also weren't going to be sitting in a bunch of people. We were going to be moving around, and we were going to be away from everybody. So, it's a different scenario, but there was at least 600 people there, guaranteed, or more. It felt like a typical Friday Night Lights at Valley Stadium, and and over 30 years, Ramon, how many times have you been there? And that place is it doesn't matter how good their team is, and it is good this year, but that team and that place just roars every Friday.
Well, the Eagles are one of the teams still alive for our mythical championship, of course, but they can't overlook the Cougars. I mean, just because it says 1-2, Dave, Major Gibbons looks to be a top back for the years to come. The sophomore matching up, with Thomas, if you will, and Charizamasi can do the job, I think, at quarterback in this one. I also mentioned Leon Gillis had an interception for the Steel Canyon defense against Helix. Helix won that big game. Still, that was one of the games for the championship. There's no championship. We're just kind of deciding who it is, right, by who wins the games over this time. And Helix beat Steel Canyon. So they have a victory. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, and Coach Cobb said it best at the half, and then the post-game interview. Their secondary, the Granite Hills secondary, was playing so well that it gave so much more time for those big guys, those big rushers, pass rushers, to get in there, and they got to Justin Brown often, and they got to him pretty quickly. But you got all that time. He can't find anybody. You got a safety coming over the top. It just the way that they said it, they were flying all over the place. Just lots of discipline, and that's why I say, and I've said it to you in private too. I think Kellen's a great head coach, but man, he's got some good defensive schemes that he puts together along with the coordinator. He's just he comes up with some guys, and he comes up with some great packages, and it leaves that offensive line and that quarterback. I mean, he was going backwards quite a few times. And Justin Brown is a great quarterback, and they were playing against a pretty good line. I mean, those are a lot of D1 kids that are pretty big. And they really couldn't run much with Robert Tucker. We all know that he's one of the better backs. He's healthy now too, but he wasn't able to do all that running all over that defense at all.
Well, the Eagles are the ones right now with the target on their back out of all these teams, and that's great because that means they've accomplished something already. They've reached, some new heights, kind of, especially with this ranking of number 7 that could go up even if they beat Steel Canyon. Steel Canyon's fallen out of the polls, but like I said, this is still the Cougars, and they're at home. They're wounded. They're trapped. They're in their Cougar den, and that's when teams can be hungry and get that victory. The Cougars, what they'll need to do, Dave, is clean things up. They had 7 turnovers in the game against Helix, 4 fumbles, and 3 interceptions. You can't beat anybody doing that.
And I'll tell you what, I guarantee you that the Eagles are watching that film right now going, that's exactly what our game plan is to go in there and do exactly that. And I think if we go back, am I correct? I think the last time the Eagles played at Steel Canyon, they did win, and I believe it was a different quarterback. But they won. They beat them handily at Steel Canyon.
Well, I think I know who you're going with in this one.
I'm gonna go with Granite. I'm gonna go with them though by 7 because I still think it's gonna be a defensive battle, and they're definitely gonna. There's gonna be more running game and defense than anything.
Okay, I'll just agree with you. I think Granite can win this one by a touchdown. I think they're expected to win, despite the rivalry between these two. Steel Canyon at home, that's going to give them a big chance. But right now, I think everyone can agree the Eagles have a lot of momentum riding right now. They're looking great. They're starting to – they've already turned everybody's head in the East County, and there's turning heads throughout the county right now, certainly. So, all right, Dave. Well, it was kind of a co-feature. At least it's a second game on Thursday night, and we're just happy to have it. It's a lopsided game on paper, but the Monte Vista Monarchs, they are a sporting team, certainly, and they're going to play hard against the Braves, and the Braves are going to play hard right back because you have 2 great coaches. The Monarchs are easily expected to win this one, but still want to see the Braves get out there and play well. Dave Lamonte Jenkins had 135 yards last week, but it was Darren Whitley who had 93 yards and 3 touchdowns. And get this, Dave, the Monte Vista Monarchs, they threw a touchdown pass as well. It was Jason Mackay throwing it to Brandon Deasy. Right when you're kind of stacking the box against him again for another run, it looked like an easy pass, like they had practiced it a million times, getting behind the defender because we're waiting for the run all day long. And you get a nice receiver like DC out there, and Mackay, an underrated quarterback, certainly hits him in stride. And Monarchs showing a little passing.
And as we all know, if we know Coach Hamamoto, he doesn't really switch it up when it comes to his game plan. It's the I formation, and it's the we're gonna pound the ball until we can't pound it any longer. And Coach Culver, he's got a great coaching staff that's a wealth of knowledge on that sideline, but they got another runner. After talking with Coach Casey Ash after the game, that's what he told me too. He said he's got another guy. He's not McClendon, but he's got another quick guy. He's a good size guy. He makes some good cuts. He makes you miss. And
well, I'm wondering which back he's talking about. But I know that Jenkins is supposed.
It is Jenkins.
Yeah, I know. He had 18 carries and Whitley had 9. So, but Whitley made just the most of his with the 3 touchdowns. But I know what you're saying. Go ahead.
And he was just saying it was almost similar to the team that they played last year, or that Santana played last year. He said, and they have a lot of good defensive players, especially on the defensive line, that trying to run it against them is you're not going to get a whole lot. And he even said he was proud of his offensive line with the pass protection and the run protection. But he said there's just so many dudes that are on that defensive side too, that those linemen come in there and they just wreak havoc. And
they're the same guys that are on the offensive side, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if they had the ghost of Schmidt passed with Logan and Blake. But I think a lot of it has to do, and I don't want to take anything away from the kids, but I think a lot of it has to do too with Coach Hamamoto making it simple, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. And he has been one of the more successful coaches in the East County, hands down, especially in that Valley League. And I guarantee every coach in the league would say the same.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about guys on that, Monta Vista line, Schrader and Ortiz, Bustos, those guys. They got all these two-way guys that are just tremendous, do a great job there. And of course, I got a big kick of when they made that touchdown pass, and it was one of the few video clips it still was choppy, but happened right in front of me, and Coach Ham was really excited about that play. That was great. So it was just a convincing win for the Monarchs in that one. They should handle the Braves this week. The Braves lost at Sweetwater 22-6. Sweetwater had a big rushing day against the Braves. Their good backs ran pretty strong. So it's going to be a tough day for the Braves, but we know they'll be hard trying out there.
And what do you think they're going to do when if you're Monta Vista, you're going to do exactly what you've been doing. You're going to run that rock right at them, then on. But I'll never take anything away from Coach Osborne. I think he always has a wrinkle in his game plan, and I think he's always got something up his sleeve. And who knows? Maybe he'll make a game of it. It would be a big surprise. But if anything, the Elkhorn Valley Braves every year now, I think they don't knock them, because I think they will compete with anybody that they play. And that's a quote from Coach Tim Esses. He said they can play with anybody. It's obviously they just they ran into a brick wall when it came to Sweetwater, just too fast. But let's not knock some of the good players they have. I mean, Malone on both sides of the ball, he can throw the ball, he can read the defense pretty well. He's got a good pair of legs, and then on the other side of the ball, he's not the biggest guy, but he can make some pretty big hits. You've seen it yourself. He can take down some of those bigger boys. And let's not forget about our good friend Clarence. You hit him going in stride long, and I tell you what, he's gone.
Well, Braves will go out there and they'll be able to have some fun and play loose and maybe make some fun plays, and that's what it's all about in this special season. So let's move on to Friday, Dave, and start with, I don't know if I'm just calling it because Helix is ranked. I got another game that is going to knock your socks off here, but Grossmont at Helix. This is one of the big games. Helix does have the win so far in league. It got them back to number 9 in the polls. They beat Steel Canyon 14-0. As mentioned, they forced 7 turnovers. There were 3 interceptions in the game for the Highlanders, including 2 by Hunter Wiggins in that one. And Helix, what can you say? I mean, 14-0. It sounds like they didn't capitalize necessarily on those turnovers. So the offense was mostly Washington again. So Helix isn't really showing much again with offense. So here, Grossmont does have certainly as good a chance as we've talked about in some of the previous years where we've given Grossmont a chance and they have not been able to close the gap on Helix. This could be a situation where they could close the gap a little bit on Helix. They come in stinging off of that defeat to Granite Hills, and Helix, despite this number 9 ranking, they have not overwhelmed in any of their 3 starts.
Yeah, you never know. What would this be? How many years in between if they took that musket out of the case and brought it back over to Grossmont?
Well, Dave, that's for you to worry about because we don't worry about that over at Helix. The only shots we're looking for are vaccine shots.
Come on, man. That's the biggest, as we all know, and I know my dad thought that was a big deal too back in the day, that coveted musket.
Well, Helix is expected to capture the musket again this week against Grossmont. They're probably favored in this game, but you saw the Foothillers last week. You talked about their weapons with Brown and Tucker and their fleet of receivers. Helix definitely has been trying to find its offense. It knows it runs behind Washington, but they are not very diverse at this point with their offense. Freshman Ryland Jesse handled most of the passing duties last week, but they only threw a handful of times. I think it was 9 attempts in the game. So I expect this to actually end up being a close game.
Well, and the one he gets overshadowed by Tucker is Nate Castaneda. He had quite a few carries against Granite Hills, and he was a pretty quick, elusive type runner. He doesn't have quite the size, but he kind of slithers his way to the first down marker. So they do have a two-headed monster when it comes to the rushing attack. So I'm sure Helix is watching that right now because in reality, they've been relying on their defense this couple of games in this shortened season because their offense hasn't put up a whole lot of points this season.
Yeah, and so we have, just looking at it from what we were talking about with our Hills League teams, Grossmont does come in 0-1. Helix is 1-0. Most of us know watching the show, or there's no league championship this year in football in the Grossmont Hills League or many of the leagues. So these are all for pride. And if there's, there's 1 year that anything could happen, this would be the year, I would think. So be on your toes, Highlanders. Don't. I'm speaking from a Highlander perspective now. I shouldn't do that. Just be on your toes, Helix. You're at home. Grossmont's coming in hungry, powerful. They still have a good-looking outfit. I was surprised with the result last week. I thought that they would generate offense even against the Eagle defense. I predicted it would be a high-scoring game, and it was not.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you thought that the momentum would keep going. And I was talking to Jim Lingard about that. The kid hit Justin Brown. He hits a grand slam earlier that week. I believe it was on a Tuesday. And then next thing you know, he's on the football field and just getting harassed and trying to get in that end zone was like trying to go through a brick wall. Very, very tough. Do I think they're going to run into that with Helix? Typically, in the last 10 years, 20 years, I would say yes. But this season, I don't know. I have a suspicion that if Carlos got maybe a special play up his sleeve, or maybe he wants to wear down that defense and he keeps that offense off the field, we might just see, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and boy, Helix is going to be upset with me, but I'm going to go with Grossmont by 3.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going with Helix to win this one. I've got Helix winning this one by a touchdown. And Dave, do the Grossmont Foothillers baseball, do they hit a grand slam every day? They did it again today. And if they want a little bit of revenge on Granite Hills, that's going to be some great baseball games when Granite Hills and Grossmont play this in the weeks to come. So,
well, just to touch on that one real
exciting.
quick, just to touch on that, and I know we're doing the football show, but boy, what a heartbreaker playing against La Costa. Went into 10 innings, 9-9, and then at the top of the 10th, they lost 14-9. Granted,
Carlsbad.
boy, Carlsbad. I'm sorry, boy.
Okay.
It just looked like
Carlsbad. Yeah.
it just looked like Austin Smith. He had four hits on the day and hit that triple. Boy, I thought, oh, here we go, and then those North County teams, they just something special sometimes. But
they're all good. We got some good teams down here. Going to do a lot of winning for sure. Okay, well, we made our prediction there, and Dave, I think this is the Friday night feature. I mean, I'm going to give Grossmont Helix all due respect. That one's on the NFHS network. I think we're going to go out and try to look at this game as one of our two games that you and I are going to team up on the Friday night end zone show. Santana's 2-0, Mount Miguel's 2-0. These teams have played some important games over the last couple of seasons. Dave, the last week, how about the Laverdiers, Dave? Not only J.D. Laverdier, as we know, one of the greatest rushing quarterbacks in Mount Miguel history, right? He's totally revamped his game. He's a revolutionary man. J.D. Dave, he doesn't throw it as much as he used to. Now he runs it, okay? He's had like 60 carries in the last two games. He rushed all over last week in their victory. But the big news came, okay, they ended up beating, of course, Valhalla 29-24. Jacob will regret throwing that interception to Gavin Nagel, one of two interceptions for Gavin in the game, but they ended up coming back a little bit and ended up winning 29-24. But JD said the star of the game was the kicker, Juliana Laverdier. She kicked an extra point in that game. First female to score a point for Mount Miguel football, and we were trying to do the research. Jim Lindgren said, hey, I wonder if there's ever been in the history of high school football in this country where the player, a brother and a sister, have combined for every single point scored by the team. JD accounted for 4 touchdowns, and he also had 2 two-point conversions. And, of course, Juliana kicked the 1 extra point. And she is not a one-hit wonder. She's a talented soccer player, and the Matador kicking game was struggling. I think they had a 1-for-3 effort going along, and you know, she has earned her spot on the team. She's from the soccer team. Coach Starr kind of told JD to bring her along, get her on the team, and she rewarded it with the extra point. 29-24, the Laverdiers defeated Valhalla.
Yeah, you know, and I can remember his quote like it was yesterday. He said, winning this football game is huge, but more importantly than that is family. And winning with family. So I got to always say is, you know, JD, he's got a lot of class over there at Mount Miguel. He's definitely one of the classiest quarterbacks. And I've been fortunate enough to do quite a few interviews since he was a sophomore, back when he was throwing the ball more than he'd ever thrown the ball, and now of course he's JD Crazy Legs these days. But let's not sleep on the Santana Sultans after last year and the heartbreaking loss when they had the best Santana team ever. And you know, in the shortened season, I think that this Santana team is really something special as well. I think that they, I just think that they have it from special teams to defense to offense. I just think they got all the pieces really that they need to, and even in the coaching, there's another special story going on there with Mrs. Taylor Estes, daughter of Coach Tim Estes. He was pushed over to a D coordinator, and Taylor's making a lot of the calls on the field now, and it's really, you see the referee in the Super Bowl, and I think it's really gonna be in the next 5 years. I think we're gonna see a lot more. Instead of the trainers, we're gonna see a lot more coaching on the sidelines from the female coaches, and this Santana team, it's like they didn't miss a beat. Drew Temple has been throwing just as good as Nate was, or even no offense, Nate, but he's throwing just as good, or sometimes some of those lasers look even a little better. I mean, Jared is he doesn't know if it was coming from you or coming from Drew, the way he's throwing, but definitely a great arm, reads the defense well. And then Jared, of course, the yards that he gets after the catch, and then the other side of the ball. I mean, you got great lines on both sides. They got a great offensive line that gives Drew the time, and then the same thing swapping over to the other side, playing on the defensive line too, Michael Richter. And of course, Michael Richter he'll even play running back if you need him to.
Well, I'd have my concerns if I were Mount Miguel coming into this game. I don't know what Mount Miguel to expect. I mean, of course, I expect Laverdiere to take off running. I mean, 26 carries last week. He had like 37 the week before, but now that's too obvious a strategy, right? Especially against a team with the special kind of defense that Santana has, with with record-setting players on the defense that are adept at getting to the quarterback, whether I guess running or passing, right? But you mentioned Temple last week. We just say Temple, we take it for granted, but Drew Temple last week, 261 yards, 4 touchdowns. You mentioned Jared Forster. He had 5 catches, nearly 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. And how about stepping in? James Beeson, 5 catches, 124 yards, and both those guys had interceptions. So, look, Mount Miguel's off to a nice start. They're definitely in position where they can figure to be very competitive in this game. I think the Sultans should expect to be slightly favored despite being on the road. I'm going to take Santana to win this one by a touchdown.
Yeah, you're correct. I think that Santana, and I said it from the very beginning, I think Santana has the opportunity between them and Monte Vista. Either one of them could go undefeated. They're not similar in any way, but I really think that they are the class of the talent-wise of the Valley League, and I think they're going to continue to have some good teams. And hey, like I said, don't knock Mount Miguel either. I think that we got a lot of talent in there, and even in El Cajon. Maybe we don't have plethora on each team because we don't have the numbers, but I'll tell you what, if we had the numbers that we have at Granite Hills and Grossmont, I think a lot of those teams would be a little bit more successful because they would have the depth.
Well, Dave, last year I think the signature portion of the season belonged to Alan Pompey of Mount Miguel, and of course JD getting him the ball. And now JD's the sole face in a way. He's distributed the ball via the passing game as well, but he's just doing it all. The Matadors need their own. This group of Matadors need their own stamp on this team, and a victory here would definitely do it. This would be a season-making victory if the Matadors could upset the Sultans on Friday night. So that's what the Matadors have going for them, and that's what the Sultans need to worry about. I definitely think they need to worry about JD. They need to, worry about trapping him in his keepers, but they also got to worry about him letting loose with his throws as well. We have not really seen that, but he has put up some numbers to some receivers, four catches, 5 catches to different guys in different games. So we know the passing is there. I don't know. See what happens after this game and see what I'm thinking about going out there and seeing, because I just think it's a great contrast of the two different teams that could result in could result in an upset. But I'm taking the Sultans by a touchdown.
I'm taking the Sultans as well. I'm taking them by 10, and I'll tell you though, I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Sarr uses, and I think he throws real well like that. JD does. I wouldn't be surprised, and that would be a suggestion. I'm not the guru that he is, but maybe running a couple of flea flickers, or maybe even how about a couple of bootleg plays, and he can throw it across his body. He can do that really well and hit somebody in the corner. Bam. Just saying. But I still like Santana as a complete squad. There's just too many players, senior heavy, and just playing really good football.
Well, Dave, how about if the Matadors do win, we get a game-winning field goal from Juliana Laverdier? Jacob kind of joked in one of his interviews on TV. He said, my sister, and it was great. I mean, she really boomed it through. She could have made a field goal from at least 30 yards with as well as she kicked the ball. But he kind of said, well, when do you see the girl go out? The girl, when do you see a female kicker? That's what I think he meant to say. When a female kicker go out there and boot one like that. But let us not forget the Huff sisters of Grossmont. I mean, really record-setting in a way. I mean, among the best female kickers in the country's history, really. So anyway. Good luck on that for the Matadors and the Sultans. That's going to be a great game. You know where I'm going with that. But, hey, Dave, I think you might be going out to this one, and it's always a great game. And don't let these records fool you. We've seen what happened so far. We understand the Wolfpack, they're 0-2. The Vaqueros are 0-3. This is for a perpetual trophy, the Tony Burner Trophy. And look, I'm not going to downplay it because they want to win this. It brings an added focus to the game, certainly. You've got your notes on this one. It brings an added focus to the game, and especially when both teams are hungry for a victory, this is the game of the season right now for West Hills and El Capitan. Their antennas will be at top height for this one, Dave.
Well, I mean, obviously, Coach Ash, he knows how talented the Yoakleys are, and he says, he says, I don't think they're ever going to run out of any of the Yoakleys. I keep seeing more every time I take the field every year. But what he spoke to his kids about was regarding, you can't win a league championship. However, they are one of the more fortunate teams of any of the other teams. Is they have the Mayor's Cup that they play against Santana, and then they also have the the third annual, I would say, Tony Burner Cup in honor of former quarterback and son of Ron Burner. But he I think, what was his quote on that? He said, after a season the way we've opened, the way we have, it is a young team. He did still give hats off to the offensive line. Nathan Sanchez, Condon, Bimbo, Ashton Callan, stepping forward against a pretty tough front. And he was referring to the Monte Vista Monarchs. I don't think he's going to have as tough of a time with the offensive line that or the defensive line that El Cap has. But I will tell you one thing, he had nothing but great things to say about Yokley, and he said we have to stay on him. He can make a minus 20-yard pass look like it's as he's backpedaling. He can make it look like it's going further back, and then all of a sudden he can throw a 40-yard pass down past the first down marker and right into the red zone. So they're going to be looking to contain him. He's going to be double covered the whole time, he can't really be double covered because he's quarterback, but he runs out of the pocket pretty quick. So they're going to have their eyes peeled, and I'm sure there's going to be safeties rushing down there too. And I think the whole key is going to be for Coach McDade is going to be to put some pressure on that line and maybe rush an extra guy. Like I said, maybe a safety rushing the quarterback so he gets a little flustered. But, Ash is absolutely right. They're the only team out of both leagues in the conference that they could walk away with 2 trophies.
Yeah.
2 trophies.
El Cap, they got off to an awkward start last week. There was a kickoff that Sultans ended up recovering, and El Cap really didn't even get to touch the ball. Savion Yokley eventually had a 15-yard touchdown on a keeper, but it was 28-7 at halftime. I was there for the first half, and the Vaqueros never really got started because the Sultans were on them so quickly. So I think that was that just was their downfall. Now they have a chance against a team. West Hills is coming in. El Cap's at home. Look, West Hills, they had their moments against Monte Vista despite the lopsided score. Oberg hit Snyder with a 31-yard touchdown, and Snyder dragged a couple of Monarch defenders to the goal line with him. So, look, this one, to me, it kind of looks even on paper. I think you give El Cap the edge because they're at home. Maybe they're a little bit more experienced, and maybe they are deeper than West Hills. So my pick is going to be El Capitan to win this one by a field goal. But, man, I'm not sure what's going to happen here with these 2 teams. We do know this. One of them will have a victory come Saturday morning.
I'm going to go with as I like both of these schools, both of these teams, both of these coaches are great coaches. They've coached together. They have a big history together. But I'm going to take just because they are also in desperate need of a win. And even though they are, I think they're a little younger than El Cap overall, I'm going to pick the West Hills Wolfpack to get their first win by a field goal and win the Burner Cup. By 3.
Okay, so we had 2 disagreements so far. Dave, looks like it'll be a tough game this week when the Christian Patriots, the wounded Christian Patriots, travel to take on the Morris Tigers. Last week, the Patriots were still almost able to pull it off after their starting quarterback left the game, but they had a couple of backup quarterbacks come in and do a pretty good job, kept them in the game. The Patriots definitely had the play of the week last week with that awesome hook and ladder play, Dave, but they're just right now going to be up against it in this one. I think a healthy Christian squad. This is always a tough game for Christian. They've met them a couple times in some big games the last couple of years. So even a healthy Patriots squad would have their work cut out for them against 0-1 Morse this week. But I think a healthy Patriots squad would defeat Morse. Now, I'm not so sure.
Now, but if you remember, I don't remember the exact score. I think it was 42-7 or something the last time they met. Morse they just dismantled them, and it was a healthy team at the time. But really, with Christian right now, the depth that they have is definitely lackluster. I mean, they got the MASH unit basically going to be limping onto the sidelines to watch their fellow players try and get a win. But like you said, the one bright spot is Jake Davila, sophomore, that looks like he's got a little bit of a gun. He's got some size. He's got some good movement in the pocket, and if he feels the pressure coming, he knows where to run. So he's following his blockers. So I definitely they have the opportunity to put in Will Carlock since he is a senior, and he's backed up Krug a couple of times. But I think the fans, the coach, the team, they all want to see the youngster since he did do pretty well. They're saying, Coach Mitchell was saying if they had about another minute or so left on the clock, they had all the faith in the world that Jake could have drove him down the field and scored and possibly won the game. So,
well, it was Jake it was Jake, Dave, that threw that pass on that hook and ladder, and it was a hook and ladder in the middle of the field. He threw it to Chris Akridge, who lateraled the ball to J.C. Gustin in perfect stride for a 56-yard touchdown that brought the excitement level back in. The Patriots were in the game, and so I think that was exciting to have Davila. That's what he said in the quotes that you got following the game about how the team rallied around him. And he knew that he would get in the game, and he just didn't know it was going to be on the most important drive of the game. But he came through big time with that. And there was also some big plays by some of the other Patriots. Joey Merritt, he had a sophomore, and Aiden Hypes had that big punt block and recovery. Krug had his own 43-yard touchdown run in the first half, and also some other guys had some nice plays. But really, in the end, the Cavers were only playing their first game, and they're a good program. And with the way things unfolded for Christian, they just couldn't overcome these injuries, and it's gonna plague them the rest of this short season.
Yeah, I mean. Coach Mitchell just said that Morse is going to be twice the force, and looking past that, La Jolla, they really got their work cut out for them because this San Diego team was able to run at them at will, and on the other side of the ball, the defense was able to get in real quick, put plenty of pressure on the quarterback. But for the most part, they were just running the ball 10 yards here, 12 yards there, 8 yards there, not even having to throw the ball at all, and controlling the clock. I think he said that's why Jake never got the ball. I think they ran 4 minutes, chewed up 4 minutes, just running the ball, taking the time to snap. They definitely knew what they were doing over there. But with Morse, it's going to be all about they know who the give's going to be to, and it's just going to be they're going to see flames on the back of their back, and they're just a really, really fast team. And Morse has always been like that.
Yeah, you're talking about Oregon-bound running back Byron Caldwell, the man. That's gonna be tough. That's the Patriots. I mean, he's gonna, he had maybe a pedestrian game in his last in that loss, but still rushed for 125 something, 130 yards maybe, and it'll be tough. He's going to get a lot of carries in the game. Let me see. I even was looking it up here. Just 103 yards. Is that all? Okay. Just 103 yards rushing in the game. He also threw a couple of passes. So, and then on top of it, you mentioned another opponent, La Jolla, and La Jolla's in the top 10. So Christian has tough games ahead. I've got Morse winning this one by a touchdown.
Yeah, due to the and I don't want to use that as an excuse. And Coach wanted to make sure that he wanted all of his opponents to be aware of that too. That not to look at them as a wounded excuse. They just need to play harder. They need to run these plays. They need to run them correctly. They need to play. I'll tell you what's going to be key is they're going to need to play some tough defense, and they are going to have to strip the ball. They are going to have to slow them down. That is going to be the key, is to slow the game down. If Christian's able to slow the pace of the game down, then there's a possibility that Christian can pull it out. But they definitely got to get that tempo down. I could possibly even see Morse going no huddle, and that you can't let that happen. You got to be able to make some key stops, strip, and get as many turnovers as possible. Hopefully, maybe even some muff punts or muff kickoff.
Well, I'm not putting anything ever past Danny Mitchell. Okay, I don't know. I just have a feeling in a way that anything could happen with him, but still going with Morse.
Yeah, I'm still going to go with Morse as well, just because after what San Diego High School was able to do, unless they come up with an answer, I'm going to have to go with Morse by 7.
Okay. All right, Dave, just about our hour's up, but we'll just touch on a couple of games. This one, Valhalla at Sarah. Don't know if you have much of a comment on this one, but I will mention Gavin Nagel and his 2 interceptions last week, including the pick 6 against Laverdier. It got Valhalla right back into the game, and Valhalla actually had a chance still at the end zone on a final series. So Valhalla played very well against Mount McGill when their backs were to the wall. They were down. They were down by 19 points, and they kind of came back and stayed within the game. Am I okay, Dave?
Your audio is a little fuzzy. I just wanted to let you know it's kind of scratchy.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll let you. Maybe you could talk then. Well, I don't know if you had any comment on this game. I'll just brush over this game. Maybe we can wrap this up. Sounds like we're having some technical difficulties at the end. So Valhalla's at Sarah. Sarah is going to be a considerable favorite in this game, and Dave and I are both picking Sarah to win in that game. Pretty sure, Dave. Also, Dave, want to mention the other game, Mountain Empire. They're still hungry for a victory, but they're going up, unfortunately, against undefeated Crawford in this one. Larry Clark, a huge game last week, Dave. In the loss, he had 4 sacks, 11 tackles, 178 yards of total offense. Looks like I've lost Dave. I'm going to wrap up the show. Dave and I both. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Dave might go with Mountain Empire. I'll just try to draw the show out here for a minute or two and see if I can get him back. Maybe the technical end, it was on his end because he would sound a little scratchy to me. So if I'm sounding scratchy, just tune out. Mountain Empire is going to be at Crawford. Aiden Hamada, he scored a touchdown after Clark had a 60-yard run last week. Mountain Empire ended up falling short in their game. Crawford comes in 2-0, and Crawford is expected to win the game. I'm going to pick Crawford. I think Dave might be forced to take Crawford, but he might say Mountain Empire could come up with an upset and try to inspire the Pine Valley guys out there. And I've watched watched both their home games so far on that Zoom cast. And Dave, do I got you back? No? All right. Let's just wrap it up for the East County Sports Report for this week. Sorry about the technical difficulties for the end, but we got through all the games this week in week 4. My thanks to Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com and all of his sponsors. All right. I'm Ramon Scott now. Thank you for joining us for the East County Sports Report.